Harry, what is your best test to do to look for CVD, CAC score, angiogram? Angiogram is going to tell you far more, or a full scan where it's actually looking at the heart actually pumping and operating to see whether there's any. So that's a sort of like an MRI type with it, which will look at the heart pumping in real time and see how it's actually functioning, and inside the chambers to see how those functions, how the actual valves are working. So if you want to really look at your heart properly, that's what you need to do. Now, CAC score will tell you, well, I've got calcification problems, so I definitely got some issue. So it gives it away. An angiogram will tell you whether you've got arteries that are basically, have got clogging or stuff like that, or don't have proper blood perfusion and all that. These sort of scans where you do a whole real time, whole heart, and that's what I did the last time. That was back in 2018, and where they looked at the heart. So the valves were fine. There was no calcification on the valves. The valves were fine. There was no, issues. There was proper blood perfusion through the arteries, and the actual heart itself didn't have any fibrotic tissue. So the fibrosis was gone. Zero. No fibrosis. Well, they said no fibrosis. Now, whether it was completely zero, whether there was one speck molecule of fibrosis that the scanner didn't pick up, with the sensitivity of the scanner, they couldn't see anything in terms of fibrosis. And they took like snapshots. They take snapshots and they can rebuild from that snapshots. They can rebuild basically the entire heart actually as it's pumping. They can look at whether the different chambers are where there's no remodeling. So the actual heart is properly structured, the structure of the heart, all looked good. Again, taurine prevents remodeling of the heart. So that's another great thing about taurine. It keeps the heart in its design, the way it was from the beginning, the way it was meant by nature, by genetics to work without becoming, hypertrophying or altering in any way. So it's fantastic stuff. That's why I love taurine. It's great for that sort of stuff. So that's the sort of, if you really want to do a really high quality one. Now, a cheapo, obviously CAC is a cheap thing. At least it tells you either I've got a 0 or I've got something. If you've got something, if you've got a 0, pretty much you don't have to really worry. If you've got, anywhere from 100 to 500, then you do have to worry. I'd worry more at that range than I would worry at 1,000. I know it sounds ridiculous, but 1,000 is actually much more safer, much more stable. That means you've got a lot of calcification and it's stable angina. Can't rupture at that level. But when it's below that level, it's less stable and it's more prone to rupture. So, yeah, at that stage, I take a different approach. I don't use at all menaquinones. I basically reduce the menaquinones and I use other methods to try and actually, over time, increase the calcification and stability. And then once the CAC score goes up over 1,000, then I consider decalcification protocol rapid, because that's when I want to reverse things once I've stabilized things. A bit like an injury on the hand, it actually will create this little crusty stuff, which is full of calcium and collagen, and that will stabilize that, and it will heal underneath, and then the rest will drop off. It's the same thing. Once it heals underneath, then you can actually get the menaquinone 4, and it's the way when it activates those proteins, those calcium proteins, with a additional hook, they can actually go into soft tissue and take all that calcium away and put it into the bones. At that stage, then I switch the strategy. So that'll be in the protocol when I do the video.